Our National Economic Advisory Board is functioning and has begun to deliver, as can be evidenced by the midterm financial review, which was passed in the Parliament on April 9th. The drastic reduction on the price of oil and gas has placed serious restrictions on our revenues. Our earnings are considerably down, and consequently, our spending capacity has been considerably circumscribed. The restored Standing Committee on Energy now guides us scientifically and meticulously as we seek to navigate the turbulent international waters in monetizing our natural indigenous energy resources, given the prevailing adverse global economic circumstances. A modern statistical institute is taking shape in order to afford us the crucial ability to make data-driven decisions at the level of the government and the population at large. In spite of our very challenging recessionary circumstances, we have revised the value-added tax regime downwards by 2.5%, which should see our citizens experiencing a bit more disposable income in their pockets as they face inevitable increases consequent upon the economic adjustments which we are called upon to make across the board. Nationwide consultations on the promised local government reform to give these bodies greater autonomy and jurisdiction over the provision of services to their respective burgesses have just been concluded. We now move towards drafting and amending the existing laws as we work towards introducing these proposals to the Parliament prior to the local government elections, which are due later this year. To combat the recent epidemic of corruption, we have laid in Parliament and are soon to commence debate on whistleblower legislation and adopt the procurement legislation with appropriate sensible amendments coming from an upgrade of a parliamentary committee which has made some minor adjustments to the procurement legislative effort, and hopefully by the end of this month or early next month, that procurement legislation will become law and make it more difficult for persons to attempt to do what happened in the last 5 years.
More transparent.
Technical work is about to commence on the construction of major highways. To the east of Trinidad from Valencia to Toco, with port facilities for a shortened sea link to Tobago, where plans are afoot to double the number of hotel rooms within the next 3 years. We are also hard at work untangling the scandal that is the stalled Point Fortin Highway. We used to be accustomed to the phrase Panama Canal and the Pan American Highway. We now are faced with Panama Papers Highway. But even as I tell you this, the difficulty grows day by day. We are facing the crime wave that you're familiar with. We've had a temporary commissioner for almost 3 years, getting a 6-1 tip replacement every 6 months he's replaced. We've changed the regulations to allow for a proper commissioner of police to be hired. The opposition has taken us to court to prevent us from hiring a commissioner of police.
Ridiculous.
We will go to court.
Ridiculous. That is so ridiculous. You know, there are better things to do.
We have a law which we supported from the opposition bench, a law which was piloted by the last Prime Minister, which allowed the state agencies to eavesdrop on the conversations and activities of criminals so that we could head them off, know who's doing what, know who's planning what, and if they do some things, we can find out what they've done and attempt to improve our detection level for violent crime from 8%, possibly something way beyond 8%. That law that existed since 2010, which we supported from the opposition, allowed specific agencies of the state, Commissioner of Police, Head of the Defense Force, and no political arm, to be able to carry out and supervise under judicial supervision the surveillance. It's called the bill requires those clearances to be able to listen on conversations and to monitor criminal conduct in modern day technology. But it was restricted to a small number of specific crimes. But given the crime wave that we are facing, we've gone to Parliament to extend the number of crime and the nature of criminal conduct which the state agencies can monitor in that way. And for some unbeknown reason, the opposition is opposed to that.
Put them out of the Parliament.
It's in the Parliament. It was passed in the lower house. It's coming up in the upper house again on next Tuesday. And hopefully, the independent senators
will
see the interests of Trinidad and Tobago
and bring it true.
And put that interest before the interests of those who want to escape the police. We have inaugurated the National Tripartite Advisory Council, NTAC, which is perhaps the most far-reaching measure that we have undertaken to date, bringing government, business, and labor around one table to confront the nation's options in a world that takes no prisoners. The Council will have as its main focus the role of providing sound and informed multi-sectoral advice to the government, not only on matters which fall under their specific terms of reference, but on such matters which they warrant their invalid attention. These are just a few of our initiatives, and we'll continue along this path as the ship of state sails intelligently, caringly, and responsibly forward.
And honestly.
Ladies and gentlemen, studies done by the United Nations point to the fact that more than 470 million jobs must be created by 2030 to provide answers to the effects of the financial crisis and to absorb the growth of the world's labor force. As such, new skills will need to be taught on a large scale to take advantage of the pace of technological developments and especially to boost youth employment. The reality is that we have to be ahead of the times. Our responsibility is to empower our people, particularly our young people, for employment in the new world. And that is not just an option, it's mandatory. More and more of our young people must stride out confidently and assuredly into the new dimension of the world of work, here in the United States and also in the Caribbean. And insofar as we view Brooklyn as a neighborhood of Trinidad, of Port of Spain, of the Caribbean, we go from Brooklyn to the Caribbean, from the Caribbean to Brooklyn. And if I may be permitted to use a slogan very familiar to us, and maybe to you, we all in this together. Together we must provide for today and prepare for tomorrow, forecasting and planning in a systematic and objective manner, unwavering and unflinching in our determination to provide the best educational opportunities for all our people under even the most extenuating circumstances. Ladies and gentlemen, innumerable brilliant words of wisdom inundate our literary records, impressing upon nations the infinite value of quality education and driving man's relentless search for self-fulfillment and realization of the highest possible quality of life for all. Here's what the late President of the United States, John F. Kennedy, said, and he's quoted talking to the American people. He said, "Let us think of education as the means of developing our greatest abilities, because in each of us there's a private hope and dream which, fulfilled, can be translated into benefit for everyone and greater strength for our nation. Our progress as a nation can be no swifter than our progress in education, unquote. Let me hasten to add that the real progress will never be achieved out of a system that deludes students into believing that the most important determining factors of their success are certificates and grades. Indispensable to the cause as these may be, learning is a lifelong journey. It's about creating useful, productive, and law-abiding citizens. Citizens who can be a credit not only to their immediate environment, but to the world at large. My dear ladies and gentlemen, the lagging world economic crisis continues to hurt the livelihoods of us all. But in the final analysis, we have to take charge of our own future and continue on that journey to emerge triumphantly from our history of deprivation and want, which is inflicted upon us by generations of masters of colonial oppression. That's in the past. We can't forget it, but it mustn't determine our future. It was President Obama who, in delivering the commencement address at Hampton University in 2010, reflected on the importance of education and his first students, those escaped slaves. And he spoke to that as he talked to the graduating class in 2012. And this is what he told the class. He said, the right education might allow those barriers, and he meant the barriers to equality of opportunity and a decent standard of living for all, to become our main concern. But it might allow our God-given potential to be fulfilled. He said education means emancipation. And he continued, he said, in order to compete in the global economy, Americans must close the achievement gaps and leave many African Americans and Hispanic students and others in poor communities behind. He concluded, so yes, an education can fortify us to meet the tests of our economy, the tests of our citizenship, and the tests of our times. But what ultimately makes us quintessentially who we are is something that can't be taught. A stubborn insistence on pursuing our dreams. As I end this address to you this evening, I would like to focus my final remarks to all the young people of the Caribbean diaspora who live, work, and study here in Brooklyn. I say to you, my dear young men and women, and not so young men and women, the new world moral and spiritual order of which I speak is yours to build, to cherish, and enjoy. It starts with pursuing excellence in all that you set yourself to achieve. The sky is the limit. I urge you to take advantage of the educational and empowerment opportunities which are being so lovingly, unsparingly, and caringly laid out for your benefit. Do not hesitate to seize them whenever and wherever they are available. Let your parents, your siblings, your relatives, your friends, your community, and all of America, Black America, and the Caribbean be proud of you. Look ahead passionately in pursuit of your vision, and above all, with the grace and blessing of Almighty God, be prepared to make the difference and follow your dream. And as you embark on following this dream, we heard the wanderlust student today talk about going to Japan, going to Italy, going to Ethiopia. Come to Trinidad and Tobago.
The Caribbean Airlines go down. Or you can take the doubles.
Make it a homecoming. You might even want to stay. We love you. We're very proud of you. and we will always claim you as our own.